Alrighty, so we have what should be a pretty entertaining fight, honestly, in my opinion. It's Maryna Moroz versus Manon Fiorot. I believe I'm pronouncing that correct. We'll get straight into the striking here. So, Moroz, she's coming from that boxing background. She seems to be committing to her strikes a lot more now, which is good, because only like a few fights ago, she used to just be like shadow boxing at distance, you know what I mean? But yeah, she's looking good lately, and she will mostly throw everything down the pipe. When she does start looping her shots, like throwing the overhands and stuff, her hand speed drops significantly. Like, I think she's best when she's throwing everything down the pipe, and she'll also mix in body shots quite frequently as well, which I do like, because other than that, the opponent just has to worry about the 1-2. But overall, I think her boxing's pretty solid, honestly. And for Fiorot, she's coming in as southpaw. She comes from that karate background. She's got good dexterity with her hips. Her kicks come up fast, just like a jab, pretty much. And she's very aggressive. She looks to get in your face, looks to put damage on you pretty much. She's quite vicious in there. And she's also got good range control, so if you try and push her back and try to relieve the pressure, she is able to use her footwork to, evade your strikes and then get back onto the front foot and just control the range from there. And with her hands, she'll go for a check right hook. As I said, she's in southpaw, so she'll go for the check right hook when her opponent's close distance. But a lot of her stuff is down the pipe as well. The 1-2s, the 2-1s, and she fights quite long. She fights longer than her reach would indicate. But what she really showcased in her debut in the UFC was her kicking game. So that's the karate background coming into play. It's the side kick to the body, to the knee. I think really hurt the knee of one of her opponents with that side kick. It's quite a nice technique. She'll go for a high kick, always open with her. Generally, women's flyweight, strawweights, a lot of them are in orthodox, so the high kick is open, and the southpaw stance is an unusual look for most of these, smaller women's MMA fighters. And, when opponents close distance as well, she'll look to clinch up, look for Muay Thai plum clinch knees to the body. If her opponent's posture can be easily manipulated, she'll look to... And with Moroz, boxing background, a lot of her offense does come from the jab, and the southpaw stance of Fiorot, if she's able to parry or, meet the lead hand of Moroz and not let her get off the jab, because that will be open for her, because in the southpaw versus orthodox stance, now the jab of Moroz has to get past the lead hand of Fiorot, which can be extended much more, leniently than if it's orthodox versus orthodox. Because if that was the case, you're more likely to look to slip the jab instead of try and parry it. But also, if you were to try and parry it, you'd probably have to use your rear hand, which is, you should probably keep close to your chin anyway, and you shouldn't really extend with your rear hand. Yeah, so it's just that southpaw stance of Fiorot. I can absolutely see it giving the jab of Moroz problems, and I'd probably say 60-70% of... I'd probably say 60-70% of Moroz's offense is the jab, so it does take away a big weapon of hers. In the grappling, so Moroz, she'll look to drive a double onto the fence. As I said, mostly a boxer, not too much of a grappler. And for Fiorot, she looks to keep it on the feet as well. She looks for underhooks immediately. She looks like she's got fast reflexes. She looks like she's got decent takedown defense, honestly. But one tendency that I've noticed in Fiorot's, regional scene footage is that she will hang on to the underhook in the clinch for a little too long. And she also finds herself, out of position in the clinch quite frequently, giving up back body lock, a lot of overhooks when she probably shouldn't be giving out overhooks. And that's why you've seen her getting caught in these, judo throws in the clinch, quite often in her regional scene. It's because she hangs on to that overhook and then just gets out of position in the clinch. They'll use the overhook to pretty much control the upper body and then look for their judo throws. But yeah, she just gets out of position in the clinch. I think, it's a small thing, but Leah McCourt, I think her name is, really took advantage of that in their fight. And I think Leah McCourt actually won that fight, but sus split decision, but she could have won that fight. And Maryna Moroz, she has gone for judo trips in the clinch in the past, so if she goes for a hip toss here, I think she could maybe catch Fiorot off guard. Alright, so how these guys win? So for Fiorot, she's vicious, she's got power in that wiry frame, and she's also got killer instinct when she does get you hurt. For Maryna, she's got good volume, good cardio, and she's got decent boxing as well, solid hands. And she's tough and durable, it's pretty hard to finish her. How these guys lose fights, so for Maryna, it's generally the poor takedown defense. I don't know if Fiorot is going to look to exploit that, but it's generally how she loses. And for Fiorot, it's the grappling tendencies that we discussed. I had to nitpick. You know, she's pretty well rounded. She looks pretty good, honestly. But yeah, I'm gonna have to nitpick and say the grappling tendencies. Path to victory. So for Moroz, look to pressure her. You know, you got to really take away the kicking game from her, really. But I got to say, like, Fiorot stays pretty composed under pressure, and she doesn't crack under pressure in her previous fights. The opponents pretty much always try and pressure her. She stays pretty solid. Her range management's good, but you got to pressure if you want to win this one. Also, look to keep pushing it back with that, you know, 2s to the body, 1-2s. Try and like pour away with the side kick, because she's going to be throwing the side kick out quite often. So if she throws the side kick to the body, look to pour away and then enter range and throw a 1-2. She'll be slightly off balance if you do pour at it. Also look to win the outside foot battle, just because that opens up your 2 to the body and the 2 upstairs. So, you know, that's a big weapon of yours. It's going to be a big weapon in this fight, so you're going to want to win that outside foot battle. Also, look to drive it to the fence, look to clinch up along the fence, maybe even look for your own takedowns, but mostly just knees to the body in the clinch. And for Fiorot, look for the inside leg kick, the body kick, the high kicks, all going to be open in that southpaw stance. Also the check right hook, when she is going to be closing distance or getting into the pocket. You just want to land something on her as she's closing the distance, just so she doesn't get too comfortable closing the distance and just fighting in the pocket, because that's where I do believe she'll have the most success in this fight. And also look for the Muay Thai plum clinch. Every time she gets close, look to clinch up, knees to the body. Just make it miserable for her, like when she closes distance, because then she'll stay at range and then you can open up with your kicks. But also you can change levels and try and get your wrestling going, just because Maryna's takedown defense is so bad. Pretty much anyone is able to take her down. But it's just another thing to think about for Maryna. If she gets taken down once, then, you know, she'll be kind of worried about the takedown, might get a little hesitant with closing distance again. So yeah, that's what you're looking for, really. And how I see it going, so, you know, off the rip, I see Fiorot being the aggressor. After Moroz feels the power of Fiorot, I feel like she's going to go for a grappling-involved game plan, but she isn't a grappler by nature, so it could gas her out potentially, but also just kind of discourage her if it's not working as well. So the southpaw stance of Fiorot takes away the easy access of the jab for Moroz, which is one of her biggest weapons and, you know, the punch that, or the strike that she throws most frequently. And Moroz hasn't faced a southpaw in the UFC. And if you look at the roster for ATT fighters, like most of the flyweights and the strawweights, and just most of the women fighters there are orthodox, so she isn't getting that southpaw look too often, I believe, in the gym. But, you know, I just happened to be perusing Valerie Loreda's Instagram, and I did notice that her and Moroz are sparring together quite frequently, so, you know, you're not going to get a much better training partner to emulate Fiorot than Valerie Loreda, so I do think that's quite a good look for her. You know, but if Moroz isn't able to get her jab going, then she'll be unable to find her range, and then I feel like it's just going to be more airstrikes. And she has got away with it in the past, but I feel like Fiorot is just so good at distance control that it's not going to fly in this fight. So ultimately, I don't think Moroz will be totally outmatched here, but I do think she's going to struggle to close the distance and deal with the power of Fiorot. Could be a sketchy split decision because Moroz can pretty much make any fight very close with her volume, but I am going to go Fiorot to get it done. So I have got Fiorot winning. I think she wins by decision. A few bets I was looking at was Fiorot at $1.85 or minus 120, so if she got to that price, I'd probably bet her. Moroz at $2.50 or plus 150, so I think she was there at one point, so probably missed a chance to bet that actually. I wasn't looking at the line actively. But yeah, so probably if she goes back up to there, I'd bet her. Either fighter by decision, if the like the money line and the decision line there's a bit of a gap between them, then I'd probably bet that. If either by decision was $3, I'd probably bet that. If you got like Moroz by decision by $3, it's probably better than betting the money line. I don't think she finishes her very often, but yeah.